More on this, let's bring in Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson. So as Russia ramps up missile attacks against Kyiv, Kharkiv, and other areas in Ukraine, the United States is finalizing a deal to send Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine. And Russia doesn't like that at all, saying it's a provocative move, one that could be met with serious consequences, and that the Patriot missile batteries themselves would be, quote, legitimate targets. Is this just more Putin bluster, do you think, more because he's made a lot of threats, hasn't made good on any of them?
Yeah, the provocative move is invading Ukraine in the first place when he had absolutely no justification for doing so. This is a pattern, John, of behavior from Putin that has been since the beginning of this war. Since he invaded in February, he goes every few months on a series of escalatory threats because he realizes as long as the West is aiding Ukraine that he is not going to be able to defeat him. I mean, we're talking about a war in which he thought that he would perhaps take Kyiv within a matter of days or a week. In fact, if we remember way back in February, hours before he invaded, he issued nuclear threats if NATO were to get involved or to defend Ukraine at all. So this is a pattern of behavior than him. He's nothing more than a schoolyard bully, and he should be treated as such. We should stand up to bullies, especially when we're talking about defensive capabilities to help an ally, to help a friend, defend civilians, and to defend critical infrastructure.
You heard Nate there say that in Kharkiv, the energy infrastructure has been really hard hit by these Russian missiles. And the Ukrainians fear that Putin is making another push using these missiles to try to turn the lights off in so many places in Ukraine that life becomes untenable, and maybe Russia could make another move on the capital. How much of a help would these Patriot missile batteries be to forestall such a move by Putin?
Yeah, this is the best infrastructure or defense capability anywhere in the world as it relates to anti-ballistic missiles, anti-cruise missiles. And we have, in fact, given these to allies before. This is not new. We've given them to Israel in the past. We've given them to Saudi in the past. So there is a history of arming our friends and allies with defensive capabilities when there is a threat to themselves or U.S. troop presence in that very region. So there is precedent for this. Again, I would stretch this as a defensive capability, which is incredibly important because, as we see, Putin is in this for the long haul. Even if it's years, John, he's in it for the long haul, and he will continue to terrorize and target civilians and to target critical infrastructure until he finally gets ultimately what he wants.
Couple more issues to get to quickly. First of all, we talked to you a lot about China. Australia back in October arrested an American pilot named Daniel Duggan, who it is alleged was helping train Chinese pilots to land on aircraft carriers. What kind of an escalation does that potentially represent?
Well, if you'll remember, we have seen this history from the Chinese Communist Party, whether it's stealing secrets or trying to co-opt current government workers. And now there seems to be an alarming track record of trying to get people who are recently retired from the military or retired from government with, security clearances that may have just ended. There's actually some new legislation that went through the Congress to tackle this very issue. And I think it's incredibly important because if you are a few months out of having a top secret clearance, there should be a time period from which, several years, I think, is the new legislation from which you are able to work for a foreign government, especially one that is incredibly hostile to the United States and our biggest geopolitical foe.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty surprising that an American pilot would be doing something like that. It's alleged. He claims no laws were broken. We just want to point out to folks, we have enjoyed having you on our air so much in the last couple of years. You're going to be going away for a little while. You're going back on active duty.
Yeah, I'll be gone for a short amount of time, but I'll be with you on the other side, John. Thank you so much for having me on and for covering the serious issues around the world every day. Your show, you and Sandra, you're the best on television. Really appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, thank you for serving our nation, and we'll see you on the other side a few months from now.
Thank you.